Welcome back. Welcome back to your brand DNA classroom and day 2 of your video training. I love it. I love that you got back here. If you haven't done the homework from yesterday, please pause the video and go back and do it, or do it at the end of today's training, guys. Like, don't skim. We went over your purpose, like the why, like the foundation of why you exist. So you don't want to jump over it. And then we talked about your community, where to go find the people who believe what you believe so you guys can connect and start actually writing copy and talking about things that your audience actually gives a damn about. So don't be skipping. Don't be doing the skip. All right. Today, we are going to talk about your juicy vision. Your vision. Yes. Okay. So your vision, let me just it's not like some rom-com, romantic. I'm a big romantic comedy person. I don't know if you guys know that about me. I love a romantic comedy. And you know how in every single, it's like the same DNA all the time, right? There's a beautiful girl. She's living her best life. She's hoping for, Prince Charming, maybe. And she's walking across the street or something, and then she drops something, and then a car's coming. Oh, she looks up, and this dashing man comes and scoops her up out of the way, and they look into each other's eyes. And then he's like, oh. And then they go to dinner, and in the end, they fall in love, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, there's always a way that ends, and there's no actual work involved. It just happens. I love to watch them. They're real feel good, but here's the thing with your vision. You can't dream it. You can't fake it. You can't rom-com it. Okay? This is true intention behind building it. Your brand DNA is intentional. There's no luck. You can't pray it into existence. It's not happenstance. This is intentional. And that's why you guys are here. This is why we're doing it. All right? So when we talk about your vision, it's not like you can just think about it and poof, it happens. Yay! I really wanted to write a book. Poof, there's a book. You got to write the book, right? So your vision is your map. If you don't map out where you're going, where you want to be, forget about it. Okay? So we are talking about your vision, AKA, this is your map. This is your map of your future. The future you're saying that you want to live. So I am going to take you through your juicy business exercise. And some of you have done this. If you follow me, I call it your perfect day, but we are going to do a little deeper of a dive into your business, your juicy, delicious business. What does that look like? Okay, so I want you to imagine it's 5 years from now. And I want you to get your pen, because you're gonna have to write some stuff down. So get your pen, get your paper. And I want you to envision what your business, your brand, all of it, what does it look like 5 years from now? What does it look like? And this is where you get to dream, guys. The only limitations are the ones you put on it. So I want you to dream big, okay? I don't want you to worry about how. There's no how, okay? No how. I know we get stuck in the how and then we don't do jack. There's no how. I just want the vision. I want you to envision, it's 5 years from now, what are you doing, okay? Are you working 8 hours a day, or are you working 4 hours? Do you have a kick-ass team that you go to coffee with, and you guys sit in the cafe and you brainstorm, and then they go off and execute all of your great ideas? Or does your team work remote from all over the world, and you sit on a mountaintop somewhere just writing and dreaming and building all on your own? Are you planning an epic event? Right? Are you speaking on stages? Are you collaborating? Are brands knocking down your door and saying, where are my stuff? Please do a post for me. what is it? What is your future juicy business look like, guys? And I'm going to ask you some questions and I want you to write it down. I don't want you to overthink it. You can pause the video after and go back and look at it, add to it, but I want you to answer these questions truthfully from your heart center, from your soul. Your soul knows. You know when you know something is right and for you, you feel it in your body. Like you feel it in your body, right? Like either you smile, you get a little excited, you may even get a little scared. Whatever it is, that's the thing. When those things show up, that's the thing. Don't run from it. Okay? Okay, good. So these are the questions I want you to answer. Okay, so who are you working with? Who's there? Right? Is it team? Is it somebody who's in your life now? Write their name down. Who are you working with? Is it a big company? Is it a big brand? Like, who are you working with? So answer the who. Then what are you working on? What do you currently have on your desk? What are the things that you've got appointments for, right? So in my future self, what I'm working on is my next book. One book's already happened, right? And the next book is what I'm working on in my future self. I may be working on the launch party for the book party. You guys know I am all about a book party. I cannot wait for a launch of a book so I can have just for the book party. And I think that comes from Sex and the City. So if anybody has watched Sex and the City where Carrie launches her book and Samantha puts on this epic party for her and she says, I think the party's even better than the book. It looked amazing. Since then, I want my own book party. Okay, so what are you working on? And then what are you planning? Maybe you haven't done it yet, but what are you planning, right? So like I said, I was planning my book party, but I'm also in my future planning my exotic mastermind, or I should say my mastermind in an exotic place. I don't know, it's like, exotic mastermind sounds a bit something. Okay, my mastermind in an exotic setting. What are you planning, okay, in your future juicy business? Then who are you partnering with? Who are you partnering with? Who are you collaborating with? What are the partnerships that you are currently, and it's got to be in your first person, guys. I don't want you being like, I will partner with Amazon. No, I partner with Amazon. Our mind knows the affirmative. That's how we're going to talk to it. I partner with Amazon. Okay? What events are you going to? What are the events in your future? There are events, you guys know, when you're on the Instagram and you're looking at people at these events and you're like, man, I wish I was at that all white brunch with Tracy Ellis Ross and Michelle Obama and all of the people from Essence. You know, like I think about that stuff when I see it. I'm like, man, I want to be at the Power Babes brunch. So what events are you going to? How much money do you make? Yeah, I went there. Guys, you guys don't want to think about money in the future. Maybe you haven't reached your goals yet, but if we don't put a number to it, it's not going to happen. It's the map. This is not rom-com. We've already established. Okay? There's no Prince Charming showing up, just swooping in and making it all gravy. You got to make this happen. Pick a number. I don't care what it is. Pick a number that stretches you a little bit, maybe even scares you without knowing how you're going to get it. But you got to pick it. You got to pick it. All right? Okay. And then who do you spend the most time with? Who's there with you? Who do you spend the most time with? Is it your team? Is it your significant other? Is it your best friend? Is it your girlfriends? Is it your guy friends? Like, who do you spend the most time with? Who do you want there when you get to the top of the mountain? And I talk about this, right? Like, when I think of the success I want for myself, for my business, it's so I can make the impact that I really want to make. I know the more successful I can be, the bigger the impact I can make. But here's the thing. I don't want to get there if I'm going by myself. It has zero feeling for me, zero like desire. Like when I think about it, I'm going to go, I'm going to get emotional I'm trying to teach a class. But I think like at my heart, I'm like, my girls, I've got to be there. My husband has got to be there. My brothers have to be there. My mom, like those are the people I want there when I get there, when I speak on that stage, when I do that book signing. Like when I have these exciting partnerships come to fruition and I have someone to call, that's who I want to call. So who are you spending the most time with? Like when in your juicy 5-year future, I want you to write this down. Okay. And like I said, it has to be in the first person. And if you guys are struggling or if you need more time, I know I talk fast. If you need more time, I want you to pause the video. It's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. Pause the video and do the work. Okay? All right, good. Because there's a second part. There's a second part to this after you've done this. Or maybe I should say there's like a third part, because this is what I want you to do after this. I want you to create a visual representation of your 5-year juicy business. All right? Visual. Our brain loves visuals. It embeds them in our subconscious and is like, ooh, you want those things? Okay, great. Now that I know you want those things, I am going to keep an eye out for little whispers of the things you say you want, right? And Oprah talks about this. The things that we want are always whispering to us. Whispering, it's up to us to hear them. But we can't, if we haven't mapped it out, if we don't know what we want, those whispers, we won't even hear the whispers. We won't know what's going on. So I want you to make a visual representation, and I will link to my vision board party checklist if you need to put one together with you and your friends, but visuals, pictures that represent these things. Even if you have one picture to represent each one of these areas, don't step over, and I want you to put it in a place that you can see it. You want to see mine? Hold up. I'm back. So yes. What are these? Hold on, let me make sure. Some of these things aren't for you. But this was my vision board. This sits next to my desk every day for the last 8 months. And I look at it, I don't fawn over it, but I look at it and I'm like, oh, right. Like there's that brunch I was telling you guys about, Tracy Ellis Ross and them, wearing some wicked outfit. I want a body like Hallie. Well, just mean I want to be strong, right? I've got this picture of her on the tire. I've got like this picture of stages, like a stage with all of these people. And if you guys don't know, I got to speak at a sold out event in California this past March, or at the time of this recording, this past March. And I got a standing ovation. And this is that representation for me. And this was here before that was ever even a thought, before that opportunity ever even came my way. Then I want to point out Issa Rae. Is Issa over here? I love Issa Rae. She is a writer, an actress, producer, YouTube star, all of these things. And I said I've always wanted to meet her. I find her hilarious and so intelligent. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I would meet her or where I'm going to see her. And I just found out that Afro Chic is bringing Issa Rae to Toronto, where I live, in August, in a few weeks. And I bought my ticket right away. I was like, what? Right? But had I not had the whispers, had the plan, been thinking, I may not have ever had that come through my desk, or come through my feed, because Instagram only shows you 10% of your followers. I don't look at everything Afro Chic does. I'm busy posting myself. So all that to say, guys, you need a visual representation. Get some magazines, print them off the net, go on Pinterest, visual, okay? This is your part 1 homework. Because all the things we're doing around our purpose, our vision, who we want to impact, like it's all to get to this, to our future self, right? And speaking of future self, we need to talk about how we can bring some of that future into the present. Okay? So I want to talk to you a little bit about your future self today. We need to talk about future self today. Okay? So, two things. If your future self, if they were here today, what is something they would be doing? What's the something they would be doing? And if you had control over your time, how would you spend that time? So these are two questions that really guide my day. They guide my life, really. Like future self. What is future self would be doing? What would future self be saying to present Monique when things come up, right? When I get blocks, when I don't want to do something, or when I'm confronted, when I'm upset, when I'm anxious, when I'm scared. I'm like, Monique, future self, what would future self do? Or what would future self say about that? And I operate as future self would, which is really your present day. You see where I'm going with this? So one, I want you to operate like your future self would. I want you to speak to yourself like your future self would. So you're going to speak to yourself like your future self would. And I want you to do things your future self would do. Okay? So I guarantee you, if you take on these three things, it will dramatically change your life. Because everything we're doing today is to get us to our future success, our future self. But we just need to start operating as our future self would, and we would have those things that much quicker. So I want you to decide that what are the things that you are going to, what's something you're going to do that only your future self would do? What are you going to do today that your future self would do? Then I want you to look at how you're speaking to yourself, or how you're speaking to others, how you're speaking to clients, whatever. Future self, how does future self speak? She may speak very different than how you're speaking right now. And then how are you operating? How are you operating your business? Are you operating your business as your future self or as your present circumstance? We are not our circumstances, people. We need to break free. So if there's even a small change you can make to operate as your future business, your future juicy self, then these are the three things I want you to take on. And I want you to go back and look at the questions from your juicy 5-year vision and be ask yourself, how can you make any of these things happen today? How can you make any of these things happen today? So for example, if we take something simple like your events, right? What events? You have future events you want to go to. And I'm going to tell you something. That event that I spoke at, I went to that event 12 months before. And when I did that, I had been listening to Lori Harder's podcast. So you guys, some of you know I was on her podcast, 16 million downloads. Sorry, I'm so excited. And I had been listening to her for years. I have heard about her event for years, but I didn't buy the ticket until I got cancer and was in recovery. And I was like, no more waiting. No more waiting. That's my philosophy. No more waiting. The time is now. Tomorrow's not promised. So I booked a ticket. I went to the event. I had an epic time. But even more than that, I was all up on Lori. So she couldn't forget me. I was taking pictures. I was like, I love your stuff. I love what you're doing. And I said to her, next year, I want to be on that stage speaking. And she was like, yeah, sure. And I just went on about my day. I went on about my life, doing what I knew to do, but I didn't know would result in her messaging me 8 months later and saying, I've been watching you. Would you like to come speak on my stage? Of course, I lost my mind and went, I'm like, oh my God, right? Super excited. But my future self doesn't wait do. We do things. We make shit happen, right? So events. What event could you be doing that your future self wants to be at? What could you be working on? Your future self. These are things you could be doing today. Something simple. Who are you working with? Are there people you want to be working with? Think about, have you researched them? Are you reaching out to them? What can you offer them in exchange for you guys collaborating? Who are you working with? All of these things, guys, this is like an exercise in what you want in the future is what you want today. So we've got to take actions. Action. We've got to action even a little bit of it. Even a little bit of it. The something, right? So that is your homework. I want you to answer these questions for your juicy self. Then I want you to answer how your future self would operate, how would you be speaking, and what are the things you would be doing. And then I want you to take an action in every one of these areas, as many as you can, so you can start feeling your vision being a reality. That's what we really are striving for. That's what we really want. Okay, guys, it's been a blast, and we're done for today. So tune in tomorrow for number 3 of your training, and we are going to talk about your brand personality. You know I have personality. I had to. Usually we got some theme music, so I had to do a little dance for you. But yes, we will be talking about your personality, because if you're ever having a conversation around looking at your comments, looking at your captions, your blog posts, your video, and you look at it and you're like, oh, I hate the sound of my voice. Why does it look like that? Why do I sound like that? Why did I say that? It's because you don't know your brand personality. It hasn't come through. It's all good. I'm going to show you how to get there. All right. Okay, bye guys.